Imagine you're on a hiking trip in Upper Michigan with your best buddies.
Right, just a normal weekend getaway.
Exactly. And you are desperately trying to escape the grim reality of, just having lost your corporate communications job to an AI.
Which is pretty bleak.
It is. So you're exhausted, you wander off the trail, and you step into the strange ring of wildflowers and rocks, and suddenly you fall through a magical ceiling.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and you land squarely on the breakfast table of an ice-cold, glittering fey prince.
I mean, it is just the ultimate abrupt transition.
Totally.
1 minute you're dealing with modern corporate redundancy, and the next, well, you are the centerpiece of a magical monarch's dining room.
It's wild, and that is exactly where we are jumping in today for our deep dive into the source material from Delaney Rain's novel, The Winter Prince.
It's such a fantastic setup.
It really is. Think of this deep dive as like a crash course in fantasy crisis management.
Oh, I like that framing.
Because the crisis here is a 3-year eternal winter. And the solution isn't a magical sword or, an ancient spell or a chosen one prophecy.
Right.
The solution is emotional intelligence. We are going to unpack the mechanics of this deeply punitive magical curse and figure out how a human with a background in corporate PR becomes the catalyst for systemic change.
And to understand how to dismantle a magical curse of this magnitude, we really have to look at the foundational rules of the world our protagonist, Milo, has just crashed into.
Yes, let's set the stage, because he literally falls out of the sky in the Porcupine Mountains.
He does. And crucially, he's wearing a kilt.
Oh my gosh, yes. He's severely chafing.
Exactly. He is entirely unequipped for the Winter Court, which is ruled by Prince Florus, or Flurry, as Milo ends up calling him.
And the Winter Court is in absolute shambles, right?
Oh, completely.
They are trapped in an eternal winter, entirely isolated from the other 3 courts. So that's spring, summer, and autumn. And the background here is just wild.
It really is. So the curse was cast by the Fey King himself.
Who is currently trapped inside a block of amber, by the way.
Right. A minor detail. But he cast this curse to stop his 4 sons from constantly waging bloody wars against each other.
Right.
He essentially locked them in their respective rooms.
Which is a bold parenting move.
It is. But the intention behind the magic is really fascinating. The king designed the curse's conditions to act as a massive psychological pressure cooker.
Okay, how so?
Well, by physically isolating the brothers from one another behind these impenetrable magical barriers, the king removed the external enemies.
I see.
So without a war to fight against the summer or autumn courts, the winter court is forced to look inward. Prince Florus has to figure out how to govern,
Right.
how to feed his people, and how to survive without relying on violence or conquest. It forces a complete systemic overhaul of his leadership style.
Does it, though? I mean, I have to push back a little here.
Okay, go for it.
Historically, isolating leaders doesn't really make them self-reflective. It usually just makes them paranoid.
That's a very fair point.
And if we look at the human cost in the source material, it's rough. We meet Lars, the dungeon master.
Oh, Lars. I love Lars.
He's great. But Lars reveals that when the curse first hit, the Winter Court nearly starved to death.
Yeah, they really did.
Because they were completely cut off from their agricultural trade with the Spring Court. They had to hastily build greenhouses just to survive.
Right.
Lars mentions he lost 5 stone. That's 70 pounds. He just wants to retire and smoke his pipe. So, I have to question the king's parenting strategy here.
You're not wrong. It's harsh.
Right. Is this actually a magical timeout? Sending your warring kids to their rooms is one thing, but trapping entire populations in starvation-inducing isolation?
It's extreme.
It seems like a deeply flawed, scorched earth approach to teaching a lesson. Think about it for you, the listener. When you're incredibly stressed or hungry, are you prone to deep, empathetic self-reflection?
Usually the answer is no. Desperation often breeds cruelty. And the king's measure is undeniably draconian. The magic doesn't offer a gentle path to enlightenment, It offers an ultimatum: evolve or perish.
Wow. Yeah.
The king gambled that without the distraction of war, the sheer responsibility of a starving populace would force Flurry to abandon his warlord mentality.
To become an actual administrator.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The curse essentially holds the entire population hostage to force the ruler's personal growth.
But if the king's goal is to force them to stay put and reflect, why build a physical barrier at all?
What do you mean?
Why not just use an invisible shock collar that keeps the prince in his castle? To understand the specific parameters of this magic, we have to look at what happens when Milo decides to test the boundaries.
Oh, right. Because you can't break a timeout without testing the door.
Exactly. Which brings us to the trial by water.
Yes, Milo realizes pretty quickly that sitting around waiting for a magical loophole isn't going to work.
No, he's a proactive guy.
Right, so he travels with Prince Fleury and a couple of key advisors, Lord Baudru and Lady Giselle, who also goes by Lennon, to the spring barrier.
And the physical setup of this barrier is so interesting. On the winter side, the barrier manifests as a deep, freezing lake.
Yeah.
But on the spring side, literally just yards away, it's green fields and sunshine.
So Milo is human, and he thinks, well, I can swim. Let's just swim across.
Classic human hubris.
Truly. But the curse doesn't just act as a passive wall. As he swims, an invisible force grabs his ankle and drags him underwater.
It actively attempts to drown him.
Yes, and we actually learned from Lars earlier that this exact same thing happened to a test horse they tried to send across.
Oh, that's right. The poor test horse.
The physical reaction to the barrier is just terrifying. On the spring side, citizens trying to harvest reeds actually see Milo drowning and attempt to help him.
But they can't reach him.
No, they're physically blocked by magical waves that violently throw them back onto the shore.
Wow.
The barrier absolutely refuses any cross-contamination between the courts.
It behaves exactly like a body's immune system aggressively rejecting a transplant.
Oh, that's a perfect analogy.
The magic is literally diagnosing Milo as a pathogen. It's neutralizing anything that tries to bypass the isolation without actually curing the underlying disease.
Which is the brothers' animosity.
Right. You can't cheat the curse by just walking out the back door.
You really can't. The curse is an active, punitive defense mechanism. But if we analyze the narrative function of this near-death experience, the barrier's aggression is actually the true catalyst for the story.
Okay, tell me more of that.
Well, Prince Fleuris normally hides behind an incredibly prickly, cold, regal exterior. He is completely untouchable.
Right, he's the Ice Prince.
Exactly.
Right.
But watching Milo drown forces a crack in that armor. Fleury drops the stoic act and shows genuine, visceral panic.
He does.
He ultimately saves Milo by throwing a rock tied to a rope. For a warlord who has sent thousands to their deaths, showing desperate care for a human he just met is a massive character shift.
It really is. That moment of genuine panic strips away the emotional armor, which leads directly into the physical thawing of the Ice Prince.
Yes, the aftermath in the recovery tent is highly revealing.
It is. So Milo is suffering from severe hypothermia, and Fleury strips down to use his own body heat to warm him under a pile of silver furs.
Classic trope, executed perfectly.
Totally. And it's here that Milo makes a startling physiological discovery about the prince.
The author uses physiology as such a brilliant narrative device to explore vulnerability here. Up to this point, Fleury looks like he's made of sharp, brittle ice.
Yeah, his hair resembles jagged icicles.
Right, but when Milo touches him in the tent, he realizes the icicles are actually flexible and delicate. Fleury's skin looks like frost, but it's soft like velvet.
It's so unexpected.
He is physically cold to the touch, but he isn't sharp. He isn't dangerous.
His entire aesthetic is just camouflage. I mean,
Yeah.
imagine dating someone whose physical form is a literal mood ring, but one designed to terrify everyone around them.
That's a great way to put it.
Fleury's physical coldness and those sharp edges are a direct manifestation of his fear of intimacy. It's his defensive posture as a ruler.
Yes.
And the romantic dynamic leans heavily into these physiological differences. Like, Fleury inadvertently makes it snow inside the room when he experiences intense pleasure or becomes highly aroused.
He literally alters the localized climate.
Right. His internal emotional state just manifests right there in the weather.
It creates a fascinating juxtaposition. The terrifying winter tyrant is actually at the mercy of his own physical reactions.
Definitely.
And this leads to a scene that completely subverts the traditional untouchable fae trope.
Oh, I know the scene you're talking about.
Lady Carlisle, an artist at the court, is painting a portrait of Milo in a winter setting.
Right?
Fleury, dropping his regal mask entirely, sneaks in while Milo is posing. And he crafts a literal crown for Milo to wear out of his own bodily fluids, specifically his semen.
Yeah.
Because of Fleury's magic, it freezes instantly into what looks like a beautiful, shiny ice crown.
And Milo is just sitting there posing, absolutely mortified but secretly amused.
Exactly.
Knowing exactly what is on his head while the artist is completely oblivious. It's wild. But we have to ask why it matters narratively, right?
Right.
Is this just a quirky, explicit plot point, or is it doing heavy lifting for the story?
I'd argue it is doing massive thematic work. Think about what a crown represents.
Authority, power.
Yes, authority, distance, the heavy weight of the monarchy. Fleury takes that ultimate symbol of untouchable power and constructs it out of the most hidden, vulnerable, and intimate act possible.
Oh, wow, I hadn't thought of it that way.
It shows a completely different side of the prince. He isn't the stoic warring monarch anymore. He is playful, mischievous, and entirely exposed with Milo.
Milo's complete acceptance of Fleury's bizarre freezing physiology is the key here. Milo literally embraces the cold.
He does.
He doesn't ask Fleury to magically warm up or become human. He loves him exactly as he is, frost and all.
Right.
That unconditional acceptance allows Fleury to permanently drop his spiky, tyrannical persona.
But falling in love, however, isn't enough to break a curse of this magnitude.
No, it's not.
A curse placed by a king to stop a continent-wide war requires demonstrable systemic growth. Fleury could be perfectly loving in private, but if he still governs like a tyrant, the winter will just continue.
And this is where Milo brings his corporate resume to the table.
Yes.
Because romance doesn't feed a starving court, but crisis management might. Milo ends up using his background in communications to guide the prince's leadership.
It's a great pivot in the narrative.
It is. The story shifts from a standard romance into a really fascinating exploration of governance. Fleury begins holding what are essentially Ask Me Anything-style court sessions.
Right, AMA sessions for the Fae.
Exactly.
Cool.
Think about modern corporate town halls, but with life or death stakes. He sits on his throne and listens to his citizens' mundane problems, which is a massive departure from simply ordering them into battle.
And the specific details of these sessions really illustrate the structural empathy Milo was teaching him. Like there's a custody dispute over a little girl named Adelaide.
Right, between Miss Fraser and the adoptive parents.
Yes, Miss Fraser is the biological mother who had to give up her child due to extreme poverty when the curse hit. She wants her back from the two wealthy men who adopted her.
A heartbreaking situation.
It is. And the old Fleury might have just ordered the child split or violently punished one party just to be done with it.
Instead, he creatively resolves it. He makes the biological mother a contracted nanny for the adoptive parents, complete with legal safeguards.
Exactly.
He unites the family instead of dividing it. It's like watching high-level modern arbitration applied to a magical feudal system.
So good.
We even hear about a time he gave a sentient oak tree 20 acres of its own land just to stop two landowners from squabbling over it.
It demonstrates a developing patience, and willingness to look for nuanced solutions. Fleury is learning to see his subjects as individuals with complex lives rather than just resources or combatants.
But the ultimate test of this new leadership style happens when the court is attacked.
Yes, this is a pivotal moment.
An angry citizen named Lorne, who is furious that the curse hasn't been broken despite Milo's arrival, throws a dagger directly at Fleury.
And a guard leaps in the way.
Yes, Private Archibald Wynne leaps in front of the blade. He sacrifices his own life to save the prince.
And Fleury just snaps.
He instantly reacts with overwhelming magical force. He freezes Lorne and his co-conspirators in a solid block of writhing ice.
Which is a terrifying visual.
It is.
Yeah.
He is absolutely enraged, standing over the body of his dead guard, fully prepared to execute the assassins on the spot.
The warring prince instinct immediately takes over.
Yeah.
For centuries, violent retribution was his only tool.
Right, but then Milo literally steps between Fleury and the frozen assassins. He acts as Fleury's PR advisor and his moral compass.
He talks him down.
He does. He reminds him that the Winter Court has laws. He convinces the prince to melt the ice, arrest the attackers, and use the legal system instead of seeking blind revenge.
And we have to ask, why does the death of one guard affect Fleury so deeply in this moment when he has historically led thousands to their deaths in past wars?
It's a great question.
Later, in his private chambers, Fleury suffers a total emotional breakdown. He confronts the horrifying truth of his past leadership. He had watched hundreds of his soldiers die, treating them as replaceable weapons, and he never bothered to learn a single one of their names.
Wow.
He doesn't even know the name of the man who just died for him until Milo prompts him.
Think about an executive or a CEO who doesn't know the name of the receptionist or the mailroom staff.
Right.
Now give that CEO absolute magical power and zero accountability. Milo is basically acting as an executive coach here.
Yes, he is.
Fleury has the raw skills of a ruler. He commands authority, he has power, but Milo teaches him the soft skills: empathy, due process, recognizing the fundamental humanity of his staff.
And he pushes for recognition.
Milo encourages him to find out the guard's name, to build a memorial plaque for the throne room, and to commission a public statue for Private Wynne and all the fallen soldiers of the past.
When we connect this back to the underlying algorithm of the King's Curse, the magical mechanics become so clear.
How?
The curse was never a matchmaking spell looking for true love. It was a leadership crucible.
Oh, interesting.
It was measuring Fleuris's capacity to value a single individual life. By choosing justice over vengeance with the assassins, and by publicly mourning a single named guard, Fleury proves to the magic that he has fundamentally changed.
That makes so much sense.
He will never carelessly wage war again because he finally understands the weight of the lives he holds in his hands.
So the internal emotional work is complete. And because of that, the magic finally has permission to break, bringing us to the domino effect.
The climax of the story.
Right, so the magical scholars at the court are actively looking for a way to send Milo back to the human world. But Milo realizes he has no desire to return.
He found his place.
He doesn't want to go back to a world where an AI replaces his job, or to a life that just felt hollow. He looks at Fleury and verbally declares his love and commitment.
Breaking the barrier requires a dual action. The magic demands Fleury's internal systemic growth regarding his people, but it also requires Milo's definitive choice to anchor himself to this world.
It needs both of them.
Exactly. The moment Milo says, "I love you," the physical environment reacts. The ground literally shakes.
An earthquake rocks the palace.
And the fake, decorative frost that has coated the inside of the architecture for 3 years instantly melts.
The structural breakdown of the curse is incredibly cinematic. They rush outside, take a carriage to the spring barrier, and watch it fall.
The whole lake.
Yes. That massive glass-like wall of water we talked about earlier, it shatters into giant shards. The deep lake vanishes. Green grass and spring flowers immediately sprout from the frozen dirt.
That must have been such a relief for the court.
The isolation of the winter court is finally over.
The relief is immediate,
Yeah.
but they quickly realize the curse isn't entirely dismantled. It must be broken court by court.
Oh, right.
Fleury points out that while the spring court barrier is down, they still have to deal with the summer and autumn Princes Solaris and Incendus.
This systemic change has to happen continent-wide.
So they pack a carriage for a 3-day journey to confront the remaining brothers.
And here is an amazing Easter egg from the source material that completely recontextualizes everything we just talked about.
Oh, I love this part.
Right. In a sneak peek of the next book, we get a perspective shift. We learn that Milo's friend, Bridge, the big athletic guy from the hiking trip at the very beginning, fell through the fairy ring right after Milo did.
He followed him in.
He did. But Bridge didn't land in winter. He fell through a magical ceiling and nearly drowned in Prince Hydrus's swimming pool in the spring court.
It's such a great twist.
And Hydrus, the blue-haired spring prince, saved Bridge by magically manipulating the water to pull him out. So does that mean every single warring Fae prince is getting a human thrown at them to fix their personality flaws?
It certainly seems that way.
Is this magical fairy ring actually just an interdimensional matchmaking service?
It reveals the absolute brilliance of the King's Curse design. I mean, the king didn't just lock his sons away in isolation and passively hope they would figure it out.
He was much more proactive.
He was. He programmed the magic of the ring to actively pull in exact foils. The curse scanned for human outsiders whose specific backgrounds and personalities could directly challenge the prince's worldviews.
That is so smart.
Milo was a communicator, right? A PR expert focused on public perception and empathy, which is exactly what a cold, isolated tyrant needed to learn.
Wow.
It implies that Bridge, and perhaps the other friends on that hiking trip, possessed the exact traits needed to teach the remaining princes how to connect and govern effectively. The curse is a highly calibrated intervention.
Let's pull all of this together for you. The story of the Winter Prince uses the fun, glittering trappings of a fantasy romance to explore a very grounded concept.
It really does.
It shows us that isolation and punishment alone do not fix systemic conflict. Starving a population doesn't naturally create better leaders.
No, it just creates suffering.
True change requires vulnerability. It requires the willingness to learn from an outsider. And above all, it requires the emotional intelligence to truly value the people you are supposed to lead.
Milo didn't defeat the winter with fire or steel. He defeated it with structural empathy. He provided the tools for a ruler to see his people as individuals, not just numbers on a battlefield or acceptable casualties of a magical curse.
Which leaves us with a final thought for you to ponder. We've seen that this curse required Prince Fleuris to undergo a profound and often very painful emotional transformation to break his own ice.
A literal and figurative thawing.
Exactly. But if a punishment forces you to become the best, most compassionate, most effective version of yourself, was the king's curse actually a punishment at all?
That's a profound question.
Or was it the ultimate magical act of fatherly love? Think about the massive roadblocks or the curses in your own life right now. Are they just punishing you, or are they uniquely designed to force you to grow?